everyone. So today we are joined with Tennessee State Parks to be our Herbert Employer of the Day. And so I'm going to be asking a series of questions, and then if students join in live, we'll have them ask their questions as well. So my first question for you, Meg, is actually just for you to introduce yourself and give a brief overview of your role.
Sure. Okay. Well, my name is Meg Guy, and I am the East Tennessee Regional Interpretive Specialist for Tennessee State Parks. And what that means is by interpretive specialists, I mean, I help to find ways to interpret the resources of the parks, whether it's natural resources or cultural or historical resources, to connect visitors to these important resources and what makes parks special. What are the stories of parks that make them unique and worthy of preservation and protection? And we want our visitors to understand these stories and come away with a feeling of like, this is a special place, I need to help protect this. So that's what I mean by interpretive. But my main role is the interviewing and hiring and recruiting and training of our frontline interpretive staff, which are our seasonal interpreter recreators, also known as SIRs, and I'll probably refer them to as SIRs from here on out. So I help train them and teach them how to share and make these connections through interpretive activities, educational activities, recreational activities, things like guided hikes, canoe floats, campfire programs, and then we assign them to different parks across the state, and for me, particularly in the East Tennessee region, and they spend 3 months in the summer sharing those stories with our park visitors.
Thank you. We're really glad to have you here today, Meg. The next question is for you to just tell us a little bit about Tennessee State Parks. What exactly does your organization do, and where are your primary locations? We know they're all across the state, but where are primary locations for this SIR position you've discussed?
Okay, sure. Well, there are 56 unique state parks across the state of Tennessee, and we do hire SIRs at all 56 state parks. These parks have been set aside as public lands for the citizens of Tennessee and for the enjoyment of visitors from all across the world. And again, the mission of Tennessee State Parks is preservation and protection of these special places and their resources. So again, we have SR positions at all parks. My particular sites as the East Tennessee Regional Interpretive Specialist are in 18 different parks, pretty much from Knoxville up to the Upper Cumberland Mountains and then to the mountains of Upper Northeast Tennessee. So I have sites in my area all the way from Pickett State Park over on the Upper Cumberland to Roan Mountain State Park up in Upper Northeast Tennessee, and then of course the Knoxville area state parks like Norris Dam State Park.
Yeah, as a follow-up to that, when a student gets the SIR position, do they have a choice in the location that they're placed in?
Yeah, very good question. So most of our state parks offer seasonal housing. So if an SIR is willing to relocate or go for statewide placement, if housing is available, we can give them a place to live for the summer. Now, not all of our parks do offer housing, and we do take into consideration the preferences of our candidates. That being said, it does depend on where our vacancies are. So I don't have a vacancy every year at every park because some people come back year after year and end up returning to similar parks. But if people are willing to relocate and we have housing, we'll put them up. And if they're not willing to relocate, oftentimes we can find somewhere within their local area that they can commute to.
Yeah, and this is another follow-up to something else you said in your previous answer there. So the summer that they're participating as an SIR, what are some of the engagement activities that they would normally be able to plan? Obviously, when things are a lot more in person, what would that look like?
Yeah. So in a normal year, there's a wide variety of activities that SIRs get involved in. And sometimes it depends on the particular site, the particular park that you're at, and the stories that need to be told, because of course we have wilderness parks, we have state historic area parks, we have parks that are in urban settings such as Bicentennial Capitol Mall in downtown Nashville. So obviously all of those parks are going to have very different flavors, very different stories, and that would change the tasks involved. But in general, things that SIRs could be involved in, guided hikes are very big programs. So people who visit our parks want to get out on the trails, they want to see parks, they want to explore the natural resources. So guided hikes are a big one. Canoe floats and pontoon boat trips in parks with water resources, always very popular. Campfire storytelling programs, and this is a great way to share local cultural and historical resources with our guests. Junior Ranger Camp programs are really popular in the summer, and that can be anywhere from a weekend or a day to a week-long day camp where 30, 12-year-olds descend on your park and you're doing fun activities with kids, where it's craft programs, demonstrations, activities, all kinds of fun stuff. So there's a lot of variety. Living history programs, reenactments, demonstrations. People who have history backgrounds really get into, dressing up in their 18th century garb and teaching people, some old blacksmithing. So interesting things, but lots of variety.
That's awesome. It sounds like a really fun position where no day is the same.
Yeah.
So our next question is for you just to describe the company culture, so the culture of Tennessee State Parks, and why you like working for the Tennessee State Parks.
This could take a while because I love working for Tennessee State Parks. And I would say one of the best things about working for Tennessee State Parks is you get to work every day where everyone else comes to vacation, right? You're in this beautiful setting, surrounded by these really unique special resources that people are spending money and traveling to come to, and that's my office. So that's a really nice benefit. Also, what we were talking about earlier, that variety, that no 2 days are going to be the same, especially with interpretation. It is park specific and site specific, but it also is what you bring to it. So, your different educational backgrounds, your passions, your interests, there's a place for you to explore that and let that shine if it's relevant to, the resources of the park. So if I wake up one day and I'm like, wow, I feel like I want to be an ornithologist today, and I'm going to come up with a bird program and relate it back to the important habitat that this park provides for birds and tell that story, and we're going to go out and, I can do that. Or maybe one day I wake up and I'm like, wow, I really want to be a historian today, and I want to explore, the early toy making history of pioneer families in the Appalachian Mountains. What did they use for toys and how did they make them? And now let's go make some corn shuck dolls with some Junior Rangers. Super fun, and there's the sky's the limit as far as getting your interests, what you can explore.
Awesome. Sounds really fun. So transitioning a little bit from what we previously talked about, but what do you expect from students at a career fair, and perhaps a virtual career fair or just any type of networking setting with students?
Okay, I am new to the virtual career fair setting, so this is a brand new experience for me. I will say, I kind of like a more informal conversation with students, especially because the candidates that I'm looking for this position need to be strong public speakers. They need to have strong interpersonal communication skills, because that's what you're going to be doing on a daily basis in the park with park visitors. So I need someone who is comfortable talking and conversing with me. So I try to, get the ball rolling with some questions and, just see, what their interests are and what their, interpersonal communication skills. So I would say I would expect a student to ask questions and not be afraid to talk and chat with me. If they're really interested in Tennessee State Parks as a career, I would like to see that they know a little bit about the park system before they come, that maybe they've done some research. But if they haven't, that's okay. Maybe they're just feeling the water, seeing what's out there, I'm more than happy to provide that information. But I do like it when someone shows up and they're like, yeah, I'm really interested in parks, and Big Ridge is my local park and I grew up there, and it tells me they know a little bit about the system, and that's helpful.
Thank you for sharing that. The next question, you've talked about the SIR job, so how would students go about applying for this position?
Okay, yeah, so this year, brand new for 2021, is the online application system. And students can go through their university, their institution, when they have their online career services. So for UT, it's Handshake, that they can log into Handshake and find the seasonal interpreter recreator position, and apply online. Once they're online, you're in the state of Tennessee's web world, and it can be a little bit, to navigate, but you'll just want to click apply here, external candidates, and then you have to make like an account, basically, that you can upload your resume and cover letters and put your application in. And once you're in that system, you can actually save, even though you've applied for the SIR position, you can actually save that account and apply for future jobs with the state of Tennessee through that platform. But for the SIR position in particular, the application period is only open until February 16th. So if people are interested, please, please, please go in there and apply before 2 more weeks.
Thank you. As a follow-up to that, are there any future opportunities within Tennessee State Parks that our students could expect to see?
Not that I am responsible for the hiring of. I am only responsible for hiring SIRs. And I will tell you that is the most regular position, because it's going to come up every year, this time of year, January, February, March, we do all our hiring for the May through August season. So it's a reoccurring application field. If students are interested in careers with Tennessee State Parks, there are other positions available that they can look into. So other summer seasonal positions include things like park maintenance positions, park lifeguarding positions, conservation worker positions. And those are park specific, so that's not a statewide hiring. Most of those positions, if they're interested, they would need to go to their local park and apply directly at the park. Other statewide positions that might come up, once a student has earned their degree, they are eligible for full-time park ranger positions, and those do come up on the online system. So if that's what they're interested in, they can go ahead and start getting those applications in.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Sounds like lots of great opportunities with Tennessee State Parks. Going off of that, what kind of experiences make candidates a good fit for the positions that you mentioned?
Yeah, so with the SIR position, as we were talking earlier, really those personal communication skills, any public speaking experience, always very beneficial. If they've got experience working in outdoor recreation settings or working with kids, so camp counselor experience, scouting troop experience, that also does help. It's not required, but it's something that, I think helps prepare them for the position. Any, sort of wilderness first aid or CPR training, again, not a requirement, but it does just it's something, if I see on a resume, it helps out a little bit. If they've got any sort of environmental education certifications, such as Project WET, Project WILD, Project Learning Tree, those are always beneficial. If they've got any background in, teaching or instruction, that's helpful. And then, of course, their educational background, we're looking for relevant degree fields, things, natural resource based, so maybe wildlife and fisheries or wildland recreation, plant and soil sciences, environmental sciences, anything kind of related back to the general sciences, botany, biology, wildlife. Also, we look for candidates in the history fields, anthropology. We do have sites that are have very specific historical and cultural stories to tell. So we get some interested candidates from those fields as well.
Yeah, so students need to make sure they're communicating all of that on their resume with you and when they're communicating in an interview, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. And our last question today is, what advice do you have for students who are preparing to apply for this? I know we've talked about it a lot, the SIR position, but as well as like, what should they be doing to prepare for searching for jobs at the Tennessee State Parks?
Well, definitely take advantage of the resources at your disposal by being on, a large university. Alexis is a great resource. Your advisors, your professors, career services. I remember when I was a student at UT, I actually went to career services and I showed them my draft of my resume and they completely helped me revamp it and make it, actually readable and marketable. And so that there are resources available that they may be overlooking. Networking obviously is important, and your professors can often help you with that, pointing you in the direction of like, here's some relevant things. If they are interested specifically in parks or conservation related fields, there are so many volunteer opportunities with public lands agencies. Tennessee State Parks has lots of volunteer opportunities. So, maybe getting their toes wet by volunteering, learning more about the agencies, learning more about the mission, and seeing what it's all about also helps build those relationships, learn about other opportunities, and just kind of see, is this something I'd be interested in doing?
Thank you so much for sharing your insight on all of this today with us, Meg. We've really enjoyed having you as our Herbert Employer of the Day.